Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you. If you hear my voice, clap your hands. I'm kidding. I'm not a teacher anymore. All right, so the way this morning works for us is I was asked to kind of help moderate. We'll introduce ourselves real quick, and then we have a couple of questions we'll start off with, and we'll kind of see where the conversation goes. We're open to taking your questions as well, so if you have a question, raise your hand. If you're too embarrassed, you can text me, really, if you want to, or you can email me real quick, or you just come up and whisper in my ear. Okay. So first and foremost, my name is Adam Silver. I am from Los Angeles. I traveled far for this. Came last year, had a great time. I'm a WordPress educator and trainer, and I run a small maintenance and support services company in Southern California. And I have a weekly podcast over at Kitchen Sink WP where I share for free. You met Ross briefly, but he will tell you what he does as well.
So I'm Ross Johnson. I run a digital agency in Ann Arbor here with my wife and other business partner. And I've been doing that for about 10 years or so. I teach part-time at Michigan State University, and I sell a premium plugin for WordPress to help people manage their WordPress projects.
My name is Rebecca Gill. I founded WebSavvy here in Michigan 7 years ago in 2009. WebSavvy does custom design and development for WordPress. We sell stock themes. I also have an SEO course that I sell at DIYSEOcourses.com, and I run a SEO training event called SEO Bootcamp.
Hey, I'm...
Yeah, turn on. You need to learn how to turn on the microphone.
Wow.
There you go. Give it a second and warm up. Go.
And now. I'm Corey Miller, and I'm slow this morning. I'm the CEO of iThemes. We are a company that builds plugins, backups, security, maintenance, and software for WordPress. We have a team of about 23, half in Oklahoma City, where I'm from, and the other half are remote, so we're a hybrid team. And we're going on January will be 9 years in WordPress.
So you have 23.
Yep.
Rebecca, how many people do you have working for you?
I have 2 full-time and about 10 part-time.
Okay. All remote?
Yes, we are a distributed company.
Distributed.
Yes. Yeah, international.
Four. Remote?
Not really. Semi-remote. We all live in like a 20-mile radius, but we typically work from home.
Okay. All right. And I have 0 employees, technically. I hire some freelancers here and there when I need them, bring in based on projects. So, first question. I'm going to actually use the sheet to start with. We'll go from here. When do you just determine when you need somebody? How do you determine? Let's start with Rebecca.
For me, it was 2 things. One, me losing my mind, realizing that I'm spending more time working than I should be, like 60, 70 hours a week. The other thing would be where you start to see failures in your process. But we have a full-time, or almost full-time project manager named Mary, and she's volunteering here this weekend. She's wonderful. Did I think I needed one? No. I was doing project management for a long time, but then you start to see the process break down, customers getting upset, and it was very clear that I needed someone dedicated for that role. And I think that's a hard decision, especially if you're doing things yourself, to accept the fact that you can't do everything and you really need help.
Corey?
Like Rebecca said, pain is the first thing. So the first year of our business, I wore all the hats. You think about what do you need to provide the services and products that you're trying to do. And so the first year I held pretty much all the hats. We had a contractor to help us for like 6 months. And so pain was, well, how can I not do these things I'm really bad at? And so and then scale. So growing, trying to do new things. So pain and skill are probably the 2 themes, I think, when we think about hiring a new team member.
Mr. Ross?
Yeah, I guess I would echo the same things. At first it was just trying to get all the things that I wasn't good at, like project management, off my plate. And then at a certain point we saw that our billings started to stagnate, because when you're selling time, essentially, hours, at a certain point you're spending all your hours either trying to win work or doing work, and the only way to grow the company is to hire somebody else.
True. Real quick question, how many people here have employees? Okay, so there are about 20% of you. The rest of you are all freelance or looking for work?
I would say that I hire subcontractors
Okay.
rather than employees.
Right, okay.
Scaling up and down.
Okay, as need.
Yeah.
Okay, the terms, okay. So for the panel, where do you find talent? Mr. Mr. Miller?
The best way that we found to find talent is through personal referrals through either team members or friends. So like our executive assistant, she was actually our, Matt, our chief operating officer, his mother-in-law referred her to us. But there's other stories of like, so Elise on our support team has referred Gerald, and another person, he referred somebody else. Those have been the best for us. And then I'll say also, I think WordCamps are good as far as in the WordPress ecosystem. WordCamps are awesome. This is the place that, you know, there's probably a lot of WordPress companies hiring right now. And I think, you know, it's been a good talent pool to develop relationships and rapport and say, oh, you can do that? Okay, good. Well, next time I have a need, I'm gonna be calling you. So.
You have my number, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Rebecca, how do you find talent?
So I will travel various places for WordPress events, whether it's WordCamp or Pressnomics or Cabo Press. My husband considers them to be boondoggles. That is the word he uses. And I've tried to explain to him for 7 years the purpose of them. It's not just, you know, to give back to the community, which I do, but it's also to make sure that you are out in the community and people know who you are and you can build relationships with various members of the community. I would not have the high quality staff that I have today, even though they're part-time, if I didn't put myself out there and I didn't get out and I didn't go to WordCamps. Because once we started to grow and I needed some, you know, more advanced coding skills, and you put that call out, I was amazed at how many people came back and wanted to work with us. And the reason is because I'm out at WordCamps and people see me and they know me and, you know, they have times to interact with me and I've built up a good name. And until I did that, I couldn't find good help. Right? I was overpaying. I was having, you know, weak people that I was hiring, and nothing worked, and that made a huge difference for us. So they're not boondoggles, for the record.
Ross, how are you finding talent?
For us, I guess it's very serendipitous. All the people who currently work for the company, who still work for the company, are people I've known for a long time. We've done a lot of projects together over the years as subcontractors, and then they kind of have come on. Like our project manager I met in 2007, and he was working for a big agency out of Florida at the time, but he was like the Midwest salesperson. And it was like 2008, 2009, he got laid off because it was hard times, and especially in the automotive area, like nobody was really buying expensive websites, which is what they were selling. And he had just had twins and, you know, needed extra money, and I needed project management help, and so he kind of came on a subcontract basis, and we worked together for years before he kind of became full-time, and now is ultimately a partner in the business because he's been so valuable. And that's really how it's been with everybody. Like a developer we just hired this year, we've been working with for over a year on a subcontract basis, and just got to the point where it made sense to try and coach him, which is what we did.
Awesome. Good answers. Nice. Next question. I'm going to go with this one. What mistakes, if any, did you make in the early days of hiring new people? Start with Ross. Or unless you want to start.
So the first couple, I made, I think, 2 major mistakes. I've only had to let 2 people go. And the first and biggest mistake is, like, I would wait till I was just so overwhelmed that, like, I just felt like the only way I could get something done is to hire somebody. But at the same time, I didn't have enough time to, like, find a qualified person. And so I ended up hiring somebody just because they were available. And it's not that they would be a good fit for some company, but they weren't a good fit for what I was looking for. And we struggled for months, and finally I had to let them go, which is awful, because he was really depending on it. But it just really wasn't working for either of us. And he was just as stressed as I was. And then the other major mistake is I just didn't give it enough time. I think I hired too early and wasn't quite mature enough in my expectations of the company. He was the very first person I ever hired. And I just didn't give enough time to kind of smooth out what it takes to go from 1 to 2, which is a huge step when you're used to doing everything, and then all of a sudden you have to figure out how to make somebody else do exactly what you would do when you have everything in your head. So that was a big mistake.
For me, my biggest mistake looking back, and that I always try to remember today, is not to just hire for experience or skill set, fit, and the passion that somebody has and their willingness and their eagerness is, for me now, much more important than their skill, because you can teach skill and you can teach them to code But if someone doesn't have the heart or the cultural fit of the organization, you can't change that because that's their core and that's who they are. And I wasn't looking at that at the beginning, and I was hiring the wrong people. And as soon as I figured that out, and I started asking questions before I ever hire anybody, even on a part-time basis, I ask them what makes them happy. And I want them to know what makes them happy because I want to make sure that's going to align with what we need them to do and the needs of the organization. And so that is my first and foremost. And once I started to go down that path, we had much more successful hires.
Corey, you have a story with yours you told at Orange County that you had hired somebody that really wasn't good. Remember that story? Corey gets around.
I've made a lot of mistakes. If we could cut the recording now.
Okay. So it's mistakes early in hiring?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rebecca and Ross said it, is hiring too fast. And also, so Matt and I, again, my COO, and we do that primary hiring process. And so he says, I fall in love with people way too fast, like on the first date. So candidate will come in, I'll go, I love you, let's hire him. And Matt will go, I hate everybody. And Corey, you should slow down. But it's a good balance where we tend to make good decisions. So I fall in love way too fast. I want to camp out on something that Ross said, though, is that, and I know we'll talk about firing, he said something, I was shaking my head like this, as vigorously as I could, that when you fire somebody, it's releasing them to find the right fit.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think so many times I hung on to people probably in the early days when I didn't realize I was probably, because I think most people in my experience, when you have that conversation, there's probably been a couple that have been really, really surprised, but for the most part, the others are like, I just was wondering when you were going to do it, and you think, but this is a free country, you could have left, you know, but it took that time. And I guess one of the stories I can share is I was in a workshop in Oklahoma City, and the guy said, stand up if you have to let somebody go. And I stood up because I knew exactly who I needed to let go. And he said, you're holding that person back. So drove to the office 15 minutes north, walked in, set that person down and said, it's time for us to part ways. And she goes, you could tell kind of a little bit of sense of relief of like, I wonder when this was coming, and it wasn't a thank you. I don't think he was thanking me for doing that, but anyway, I thought I'd camp out on that because I think what he said was extremely relevant to the whole hiring and firing process.
So it's on the hiring and firing, but on the firing side of things, question for you is, you ever regret somebody? So regret for firing? You ever feel bad? I mean, really regret, like think, you gotta let them go, even though they could do well if in a different capacity at the company?
For me, no regrets.
Okay.
In any experience. Do I have bad feelings? Yes.
Of course, you're human.
That's just a part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing jobs, families, lifestyles have to be changed and be disrupted because they can't work at that company anymore. But have I regretted not firing somebody? Absolutely. And that was more times I was too slow to do it.
Right.
You know?
I mean, honestly, if you have somebody in the company, or if you're the person that's not helping yourself, it's time to go. But we all get comfortable in a paycheck, and that's the problem. You know, if you're not on board with the company's direction, you know. And from my perspective, real quick, I just left a job, a day job, 38 days ago. Not that I'm counting. It served its purpose. It was a job. I went into my boss and told him, and he was not surprised at all. I cut back my hours. I've been wearing WordPress shirts for 3 years, every day to work. He's like, finally, pretty much, you know. He agreed that it was time to go. And not that my work suffered, I was bored out of my mind. So I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're not enemies, you know. And they may sub out to me. I mean, they may become one of my clients. So that's a question. Have you ever done that? Have you ever let somebody go and then hired them in a different capacity down the line? Like, you know what, he would be good at this piece of it. We need someone temporary because he knows the business, or she. Have you ever done that where someone's left your company, but they became a client back to you? Did that ever happen to you guys?
No, because by the time I'm going to fire somebody,
It's done.
they're just not a good fit.
Right. And that usually doesn't work in this scale of things. I think in smaller companies, but if you leave to do your own thing, a lot of times you can get the company back as a client. You know, so I've done that in the past. A long time ago I've done that. So.
Yeah, actually, my wife, before she joined the company, she got fired let go from a company. But then they ended up hiring her every year after to do their annual report, and we still work with them. So now they're a client for the company.
Right.
Yeah, I think how you leave is extremely important. Now, everybody in here that has teams and everything are shaking their head saying, like, you got to leave the right way.
Right. And unless you have no care whatsoever in that industry, in that company, or those people, and you want to burn the bridge, great. But I think you're better off from experience. Unless you win the lottery, you have a lot of money that you never need to worry about working again. You might want those relationships to some capacity, referral, references, right? So, unless they are really just bad people. But anyway, so all right, money. How do you determine what to pay people? Dartboard?
Yes. Yeah, we get a big dartboard with numbers on it.
Okay.
We try to, so if it's a brand new position we haven't filled before, we'll do some, fact finding with people that may have had similar roles in the industry, geographic location, things like that, to try to get a range of what we're thinking about. Probably most often, I think Matt and I will probably know that's this much money. But if it's a position we've already filled, that's pretty easy because you got a range there, and then it comes down to experience and stuff for us.
Rebecca, how much do you pay? No, I mean, none. How do you figure out what to pay?
It's industry standards. It's the person's skill set. We have standard rates that we pay for regular coding, and then I know for advanced coding, I have an elevated rate that I have to pay. I have had people come in and say, I want X, per hour for contractors, knowing that they're way over their skill set, their expectations, and I've just been frank with them and said, I can't pay you that. What you're asking for is well outside of what your skill set is. Here's a more realistic amount. I'm happy to pay you that. And more often than not, they're like, okay, thanks for level setting me and setting those expectations for me because I was off. But yeah.
Ross?
I guess I don't have a whole lot of insight here. We kind of take a best guess based on other people we know who approximately how much they make and that sort of thing. The person we hired most recently, we knew what he made at his last job, and so that made it pretty easy to go from there.
Awesome. All right. I wanted to come back real quick to a previous question. I meant to ask this about finding talent. Have any of you ever hired people from Upwork, Fiverr, Craigslist? If yes, no, and how was that experience? And if no, why not?
I hired somebody through a staffing company.
Okay.
So, just real funny story. I'm in New York with my girlfriend. Somebody asked to use our hotel room. We come back, there's this dude standing in our hotel room, some girls in the shower. We're like, we thought that this was just a come in quick and out. Well, it turned out he owned a staffing company. So I would never have done it, but I said, well, when he's waiting for his girlfriend, I'm talking to him. So I hired a full-time somebody through the staffing company. And I will tell you, it's through a year contract, and I churned through probably 10 of their people. And it was a painful experience. So after, I did finally find a gem, still with me today, but after that experience and knowing how much money I wasted, I haven't gone to Craigslist or Upworks or any of those. I've always tried to do based on relationships and referrals and that type of thing, and people through the industry.
Corey, have you ever hired anyone?
Not really, no, not from those particular type of services. We do now have contractors, and like Rebecca said, it's mostly, I like to know that it's just not in a vacuum, like this person coming out, I want to know a little context. And when I know there's other people that know that person, it really helps. So we've got a contractor we've used for 8 years that's a writer for us, and he was, when I was a blogger, blogging regularly, he and I met and everything, and we just kind of continued that relationship on. It's awesome. Never met him in person.
Where does he live?
Minnesota, I think.
Okay. Just curious. Ross?
So we've hired interns from Craigslist, which, as you can imagine, was like super hit or miss. We had a whole bunch of people who they kind of showed up first day and became very clear that the things they claimed to have learned in school or be learning in school was not actually what they learned. But there was one guy who started off as an intern, and we did some contract work with him for a while, who now works at Twitter. So he was in school for computer science when we came across him, and he knew practically nothing, and I introduced him to WordPress and a handful of other things, and he kind of went from there. So that worked out really well. Occasionally we'll use services like Upwork or like the jobs.wordpress.net to find contractors to do very small specific things like content integration, things that like none of us really want to do, but needs to get done. And it seems like those work well if you're just peeling off like a very small sliver of something to do and can give like very direct instructions on this is how you do it. But for somebody full-time or like a long-term relationship, we probably look there anymore.
And for the record, I have actually hired people from Upwork. Before it was Upwork, it was called
Odesk.
Odesk, thank you, yeah. And I've gone through, like you said, Rebecca, handfuls of people, and I would hire and fire just as quick, but I would pay them for the work that they did, for the unfortunately bad work that they did, because they tried their best. Hi, Adam Warner. They tried, I gave them some money, and that was it. So I hired based on what they said they could do, fired immediately fast because my 11-year-old could have done better as far as graphics, and moved on. I have one guy now that I use a couple times a year. His name is Mohan. He's from Sri Lanka. Great guy, does great work. It's a second job for him. He does other thing, and it saves me a ton of time. But it took a while to find him, so it's as an FYI. I've never used Fiverr as a subcontracting for my own work. And Craigslist, no, that's not going to happen. So, from my perspective, on WordPress work, because a lot of promises and no delivery. So, when you find someone you like, do you ever do a trial, like the way Automatic does it? Do you do a trial? Do you try a small project first as a subcontract? You're subbing out, paid, unpaid. How do you test for that? How do you set that up to the expectations of what you need in a timeline? Go with that, Ross.
Yeah, so every time we've always done some sort of trial. So usually it's always been paid, and usually we'll just have them work on a handful of projects throughout the week. We do what we consider a fair freelance rate. Usually they get to set the rate, whatever freelance rate that they're currently charging, just to see how it works out, how they mesh. But I guess, like I said, everybody so far are just people we've subcontracted for a long time. So most of the trials that we've done that haven't turned into a long-term relationship just to kind of crash and burn really quickly.
Rebecca,
I've actually never done paid trials. I mean, we bring people in as subcontractors, but I look at that as a long-term trial, right? It has to be a fit, and so you approach it that way, and check in with them right away to say, how's this going for you? You happy? And so we've never had that type of automatic type of program.
Right.
Never needed it.
Corey?
We don't do trials. We do. Well, let me give a caveat to this, and I think whenever I say something, I always like this little asterisk by everything is that every company is different, every DNA is different. You might have the same be in the same industry or something, but I think it's you got to follow your own path. So it obviously works for Automatic.
Right.
It doesn't for us. We haven't seen the need just yet.
And just for those of you who may not know, Automatic does a 4 to 5 week paid trial for everything from happiness to theme wranglers to coders. I don't know the different rates on pay across the board, but like happiness for all the support engineers, they're given keys of the kingdom, and they go for 4 weeks and they get paid. After that, you have team meetings and chats, and everything's online. There's no phone call, there's nothing on Skype, it's all text-based. And then eventually you have a chat with Matt, via Skype as well, or Slack these days possibly. And then if there's an offer, there's an offer. If not, then moves on. And you can do it part-time or full-time, because Automatic doesn't want you to quit your job if it's not a good fit, if you have a day job, so FYI. All right, I have 1 or 2 more questions, and then we can open it up to them as well for some Q&A. The other question I want to ask you was, where did I just have this one? How do you know, how do I word this? What's better, what's better from a perspective of hiring for a full-time employee versus a subcontractor? What's the better roles for those, and how do you determine that? Or do you just start off everyone as a subcontractor before you make them an employee down the line? Who wants to take that one?
So for full-time versus contract, I would think contract is, I have this technical need, it's very slim, that doesn't require full-time work or commitment, that, so we only have, I guess we would have 2 or 3 contractors probably, and they feel that need, and I also don't treat them like I do team members, like they don't get the hoodies, they don't get the shirts and stuff, Full-time though is...
I have a hoodie, so thank you.
Yeah, hey. How long have you been contracting with us?
No comment.
I forgot the question.
How do you determine the difference between the contract and the full-term? Like when you do big model?
Just see, yeah, yes.
Yes.
7.
7. So 7.
Just seeing if everybody's awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's based on your need. You'll just be,
need.
And then the need in your contracts are repetitive. Like every couple of months, you might need that same need again to do the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's again a conversation now. My sidekick is Matt, and I hope I'm his sidekick. But it's a conversation of okay, is the need there, and it's not done in a siloed out like I just go Matt go hire. No, it's a collaborative conversation of what do we think we need, because I don't manage the people.
Right.
Matt does, but I know he trusts me for vision. I trust him for execution.
Okay.
And that conversation is okay. Do we feel like this is a full time? So we just did that. We knew we have 2 front end developers. We're down one, and the one we had had a baby. We're like, oh gosh, everything in the company has to stop for a couple weeks, and so we're like, that may be a need.
Right. Okay. Rebecca?
So I love subcontractors, and early in the business, I had the idea that I needed to have full-time employees as we grew, and I quickly realized that that's not the case. Chris Cree, who's been a subcontractor with me for, I think, 6 years now, which is a really long time, and most everyone has been, it's been long-term. He's leaving to go start a Bible school. The thing I love about having people like him is he gets to work part-time for me, or with me, I should say, and he has steady income coming from that, but he gets to pursue the things that he loves, like religion and being able to teach as an ordained minister. And I see benefit in that. I treat subcontractors like they're regular employees. I give them Christmas bonuses and things like that. But it's different for every organization. That works great for us in our setup. It's not for every organization. There's organizations like iThemes that needs full-time employees. So
right.
I definitely think that it's an organizational fit based on their unique needs. So.
Okay. Russ?
I think when I started the company, I would have said something to the fact that there's certain types of jobs that make more sense as a subcontractor versus a full-time employee. But the more, I think, these days it could be anything. Like, my project manager did contract project management for a while, and that was something that I probably would have assumed had to be a full-time position. I've got a good friend who sells a premium plugin, and he has support people who are subcontractors, and that surprised me too. It seems like if you're going to have people spend 30 hours a week on support, that they probably want it to be an actual employee, but apparently that's not the case. So for me, I guess it's more along the lines, I guess I have the perception that if they're a full-time employee, they're invested in the company, maybe to a greater extent because they don't have other things that are competing for their attention. And so once somebody gets to a point where I feel like I don't want them to decide to leave because they get a bigger and better client, or they open up their own bigger shop or something like that, that's the point where I'd rather that they're an employee, because we can kind of be a tight-knit family and all be in it together.
Sounds really nice. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Would you like to join? Let me know if you're hiring. No, all right. All right, so those are the questions I have, and it's just some conversation starters. I want to open it up. We have about 20 minutes left. Any questions from the audience, from the gallery? Oh, a few. No? Okay. We will start in the front row here.
You guys have talked about fitting in with the culture and that, and I totally get that, but I have found, because I do the scale up, scale down with subcontractors as needed, and I have one guy that is pretty steadily part-time with me. Reliability, I have found, is my #1 factor. You show up, you do the work. Yes, you can learn more. Yes, I wish he thought a little more out of the box, whatever, but he shows up, he does the work. And that, to me, that feels like a more important thing than a cultural fit. Maybe I'm not a big enough person to have a culture yet. But,
Maybe not cultural, but personality, right?
Right.
So they've got to jive with me on a personal level, and I need to jive with them on a personal level.
Yes,
right?
And that's definitely true.
Yeah, because our organization's not big enough to have like this, corporate culture, but it's more of our process and the way that we operate, and that being a fit for the contractor. And one of the questions I ask is, how do you feel about a to-do list? Because some people, that freaks them out and they don't want it. But we run off a base camp, and there's a template for everything, and if they're working with us, they gotta like to-do lists and be able to embrace that. And those are the kind of questions I ask, because I don't want someone to hate having to work on one of our projects or to work with us. I want them to want to do that. And I think when they want to and they feel valued, that's when they are reliable, and that's no longer an issue.
Right. Is your to-do list, let me ask you a question, a to-do list based on, is repetitive wise, like this project does these things every time that they come in, or is it an ongoing to-do list for that person?
It varies. Our custom work has a 90-point to-do list template that gets kicked off.
Okay.
That's standard, but whatever, like Bejan, I was kicking off to-do items to him 2 days ago that just came out of the blue.
Okay.
Right? And it's just, you have to figure out people's style, and I try to match up those styles. He can jump between projects and customers and everything else like that, and he knows what priorities are, but again, he's been with me for like 6 years.
Right. I think it comes also down to expectations both with clients and contractors and freelancers and employees. People need to know what the expectation is.
Right.
I would love, I don't know if I love being told what to do, but I like to know
But you know
a
what's
guideline
expected,
expected.
yes.
If I do some work for ServerPress, they're here, Mark Benson-King's here. I manage their social media and their newsletter. So I know my expectations. But there's the other issue I think about reliability is, does the contractor bring anything extra to the table? Any other offers, solutions? Here's something I see we could be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take that recommendation? So if you hire a subcontractor, something for the panel, if you had a subcontractor say, hey, Corey, I know I'm doing this, here's something I think we could do, would you accept that? So let's say I come in,
Yeah.
let's say I have a hoodie, so you're subcontracting to me,
Yeah.
and I think, here's an opportunity to do something with Backup Buddy that's not being done.
Yeah.
Are you open to to hearing ideas from your subcontractors?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the things I say because we're very structured, is here's our process. If you see we can improve our process,
Smart.
let me know, because
Right.
I'm all open to it. I
Right.
mean, the process can change as long as it's going to be optimized.
Because I've worked with people who turn that off. They go, no, it has to come from top down, which I think is a mistake.
Right,
You have,
right.
We're not
But
the
I've
smartest
also-
person in the room. It's our names maybe on the letterhead, if you will, on the website, but it doesn't mean we are the smartest in the room. I mean, I'm not the smartest in this room. I might be the tallest. That's about it. So.
Becky, was your original question around fit and subcontractor?
Well, I went through several people who, they thought I was going to be able to give them way more than I was able to give them, and so their expectations were wrong, and that was a lesson for me. Okay, I need to set this, that this is going to be variable, and this is the way it is. And then I had one woman who worked at 2 a.m. and sent me really crappy work at 2 a.m, and I was like, I don't think I like the way your brain works, It's not good work, and why are you sleeping? It was weird. And the guy I've got now, he's not the brightest guy in the box, but he gets it done, I can hand it off to him, and I don't have to worry about it. And I've had to train him. If you're not sure, come back and ask a question, and I'm totally cool with that, So I guess that is a fit, right? That's.
All right.
But
Let's start. Tim, you're next. Kevin, Tim, it's okay. It's okay with me.
So I agree with you, Rebecca, 100% that fit before experience and got burned. The only 2 people I've ever had to let go was early on, and I found out I really, really suck at hiring because I'm like what Corey said, getting married on the first date. And so I let other people make the decision, but once I started doing that, it was great. But I was told by a very experienced CEO that my business would change, the dynamics of my relationship with my employees would change when I got 7 or 8 employees. That prior to that, it's very collaborative, very friendly, very casual, and then at 7 or 8, you suddenly become the boss, even not just to the new people, but to the old people as well, and that affects everything, including your hiring decisions. Do you guys find that to be true?
I'm not that big of a company or a person, so I can't answer that one. Corey, you're the most.
So as the company scales, gets bigger, does the dynamic
change?
Are people afraid of you now at work?
No, I don't think so. Are they? I don't know.
No, they're afraid of Matt.
Yeah, they're afraid of Matt. So at 7 or 8, you hit it on the head. I could be friends with everybody. I could have like personal relationship, quality time with everybody. At 10, 11, the wheels started wobbling.
Yeah.
And when it got to like 15, I thought, I want to pull my hair out and not have any employees. And that's when Matt was part of that, 15 group or so. Actually, he was number 6, 7 in our team, I think. And but that's when I pulled him in and realized I can't do this by myself. But yeah, now I don't know what automatic going to 500, 600, wherever they're at now. I don't know how this scales past us. But yeah, now at 25 now, it's harder because I don't have as much time, and also I have 2 babies. So I can't like hang out and go eat, get sushi at night and play video games with them all the time. So I try to do some special things to still be involved as the spiritual leader. That's how it's changed, I think. They're not afraid of me. And Rebecca's kind of right. Like Matt's the one that managed them. I get to come in and be the cheerleader, and I'm his support and helping him. So I don't know if that answers your question, but anyway.
that helps, yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to the day where people are afraid of me. I want to be like Miranda Priestley of the web development company. I'm gonna walk in, throw my jacket off. I don't wear a jacket, but you get the point. All right. Front row, yes.
Yeah. Becky mentioned the word expectations. So regardless of whether we're working with a part-time employee, a full-time employee, or an outside vendor contractor, expectations need to be communicated. And I'm curious, and hopefully reduced to writing, so that there's something concrete there to refer to for both parties. I'm curious, over the years of some bad experiences, relationships going south, unmet expectations, if your contract language has changed your approach to communicating in the hiring process. Have there been certain clauses that you've changed in your contract, or are there certain things that you've communicated up front that you do now that you didn't 5 years ago because you had a relationship go south, whether the expectation was met on your end or on the other parties' end?
Hey, Adam, I think we should restate the question.
Yes, I was going to say the same
Sorry.
thing. Hey, Corey, I think we should restate the question.
Hey, Adam, actually. Are you talking about contractors, by the way, specifically?
It could be an employee,
Okay.
a direct
So
hire,
the
or
question-
it could be a subcontractor.
So the question is, do we or do people update contracts, have something written down about expectations for employee or contractors? So like written down to reference to, put it in writing. Do you do that at all? I don't. I haven't.
I mean, we have an employment contract, but I think more importantly, I mean, that's kind of just more of the legalese, like you can't steal our IP and all these other whatever random stuff. Just can't steal clients, etc. But we have like an onboarding process that the first day we go through. It's essentially just a keynote or a PowerPoint where we go through like the various expectations of what everybody is expected to do and that sort of thing. I also think it's a place where you could lead by example. Like I always want to make sure that like I'm the hardest working person so that they can kind of see like if I'm working this hard, then that's kind of what's expected of everybody else. I think that goes a long way.
So PlayStation counts as hard work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you did?
Do you have a document of?
So my relationships with the contractors is much less formal because we're still small. You know, we're small enough. On the client side, I absolutely do what you say. Every time there's a miscommunication, it goes into my proposal template, whether it's a standard terms and conditions or it's a new page that describes those expectations for the client. But we're from an employee standpoint and contractors, we're still small enough that we don't need that formality, at that level. And a lot of the people that I hire for contractors would be turned off by that, right? They wanna work with you and not feel like they're working for you.
So we don't have contracts or anything like that. Like they sign full-time employees sign a job agreement letter. My contract is, and every bit again, asterisk, like I said earlier, everything's different. So far, what I'm about to say has not bitten me. But the contract I have with my team is, if I don't want you around my kids, you're not going to be on this team. And if I don't like your company and want to spend time with you, because we're going to spend time next week, we have our annual retreat, that's our contract. So if I don't get that good feeling, now I'm the warm fuzzy guy, right? But generally speaking, if I don't want, have those good feelings, the first day my son was born, our team came to the hospital, held my son. If I don't have that level of trust, then a contract, but again, my asterisk, everything I say, the team so far scaling up to what we've done now that's our contract. If I don't trust and like you, you don't trust and like me, we shouldn't be doing this. You should go somewhere else.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left. We have 2 more questions in the far back first. Sorry.
Hi, I'm a small company and been around for a long time, and I've always used subcontractors. However, things are evolving, and I've been thinking about hiring my first employee.
Awesome.
My question to you is, I have read all about this because that's who I am. I read before I leave. I've read that it's best to replicate yourself, basically, as your first employee, rather than fill a need. What do you think about that as a first employee? How do you get going in that first hire?
All right, so the question is, the first hire, should it be someone to replace you, or should it be someone to do a different job than you do. And I know it reminds me.
Place you, scale you.
Scale you, I guess.
Like
Yeah.
genetic cloning or something?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
So I guess the higher
Kind of expensive problem.
you go to the biology department here at University of Michigan and then start there. One of you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably really depends on who you are and your skill set, and it's probably, in my opinion, I guess would be it depends on the person. I mean, for me personally, the first person that I hired was that I was trying to replicate myself. He was a pretty good designer and he was a pretty good coder. And what I found is that we just now had two people who were not great at project management and client communication. And I spent all my time trying to project manage him, which I wasn't very good at, which frustrated me. And then, I wasn't good at communicating to him what needed to be done, and it was just kind of a mess. And he was actually really good, and it just didn't work out because I didn't have the skills to really manage him. So my second hire was a project manager, and that worked out a lot better for me. But I understand that personally because I was, like, project management is just such not my thing, where I just really needed that help. But it might be different. It's pretty good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Rebecca?
So if I try to duplicate myself, that would be a scary thing to begin with. But there's not enough work, right, for the company to have another one of me. There is enough work for a front-end coder to work full-time, and that was where our need was, and that's why we have a full-time person doing that, dedicated to that task, and that's where we've let it. And then, the next person that would be full-time would probably be a project manager, because there's enough work there to fill that role. And I've always gone off need, and filled that way, down to how many people that you have, as opposed to what someone says that you should do, right? Duplicating me would probably be the last thing I would do.
Yeah, I would duplicate me either. No way. I mean, honestly, I would love to. I like Corey and Matt, their relationship. I love the fact of vision and implementation. I'm a good idea guy as well, but no one hires an idea guy. But I'm also good at. My strength is biz dev. Honestly, people in my area. I mean, I've built a community where I live, and people trust me for whatever reason. And I know enough of what I know, but sometimes. Butt and chair doing code isn't my strength, so I'll sub that out. If it's something small, I can take care of it based on the scale of the project. But if it's bigger than that, it makes much more sense for me to sub it out to a better, faster coder. And I'm not greedy. I'd rather pay them. I'll take a smaller percentage, give them what their value is, and get the project done for the client. Yeah. So I think we're actually out of time. Is that it? We're out of time. If you have more questions, we are here all day today, tomorrow. Ask questions, find us, and thanks for coming. Enjoy WordCamp.